Hi everyone!
Hello!
This is our second Mentor Monday live stream. If you were watching earlier, we had some technical difficulties, so we're just going to restart the video since it was only like 4 minutes. So it's not too much to catch up on.
Yeah.
If you're new to the live stream, I'm Diana.
I'm Alexis.
And so this week we're going to talk about job hunting and resume building. But before we get there, how's your semester going?
My semester is going really good. On top of all my coursework, it's a lot of reading, but I'm getting through it a lot, so yeah. I'm happy.
That's good. I'm actually on top of like all of my notes, which I'm really excited about, and like I'm doing stuff ahead of time, not like last minute.
That's
so I'm
very good.
I'm getting instead of procrastinating and whatnot. So now we're both in our last semester here at UTSA as undergrads. And so what is something, if you could go back in time and tell your freshman self, what would you what tip would you give them?
I would probably give them the easiest tip of them all: stop procrastinating. Just do your work on time and don't wait till the last minute. I promise it will be even better than you're under pressure kind of stuff. What about you?
That is definitely a really good tip. I definitely need to hear. But it would also be kind of going into what we're talking about this live stream is definitely going out there and getting more involved, or going to college or career fairs, and just getting to know people and getting connected. What I'm thinking about is mostly because I feel like if I had gone earlier, I would have been able to learn the skills needed for the different internships I was applying to, or the career that I'm looking for, all of those skill sets before actually applying to them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just getting a jump start on that, and getting out there and getting my face out there to different companies. So, speaking of which, we have a career fair next week on Tuesday, I believe.
Yes.
And it's in all majors most of the day, and really just we're having a lot of companies from around San Antonio coming out, having all of their internships and jobs kind of showcased, and you can actually apply to them there. And some of the companies will do on-site interviews the next day, or talk to you and see if you're a viable candidate or not. So we highly recommend everybody to go out there.
Definitely.
Polish up your resume, which we'll talk about tips. And just get out there. Even if you don't think you have any skills to showcase, maybe just go out there and ask, find a company that you think you're going to be really passionate about, or a company you want to work for in the future, and ask them what are skills you're looking for. I'm a freshman and I want to be able to have a internship with you in 2 years or so. What can I do to make myself a better candidate for you?
Yeah, it's really important to get in there early.
So, speaking of which, we're going to talk about some resume tips. What is a resume?
Perfect question. A resume is a short summary of your educational and work experience, and as well as the skills that you've learned on the way that will help you in your next job, or into your next maybe graduate study or something like that.
Nice. So into your next pursuit.
Yeah, whatever you do next, a resume will help you get there.
Cool. So what is a good reason to have a resume?
A good reason to have a resume is it's basically a marketing tool. So you want the people that are going to be hiring you or looking at your resume to see to be able to see that one page and know okay, this is somebody who can do pretty good work, that has a good work ethic, has a lot of experience, knows what they're talking about, and I want to hire them for this, or I want to see them study this. It's basically just something that says that you're a good candidate for whatever you're trying to be.
Nice. So what are some components that are essential to have in a resume?
So I would say an essential part is the identifying information. Yeah. That's going to be your name, your contact info, your phone number or your email address, as well as your address, physically address, so they know where you're coming from. If you're trying to go out of state or out of the city or something like that, they know where you're at basically. Yeah. And you're also going to want an objective statement, something that says why you're applying to whatever you're applying to, and why it's going to help you in the long run, in the future, in 5 years, 10 years from now. Why are you going to do this?
That's cool. And real quick on that contact information, it's important to have an email that you're going to have for maybe the next 5-10 years, and you're going to be checking constantly. Something that happened with me last summer, or this past summer, is I got an interview with a company that I applied for like maybe a year and a half ago, but their resume landed on someone's desk and was like, hey, this is the type of person we're looking for. So you never know where that resume is going to end up. So you want to have something or contact information on there that, you know, they can get in touch with you.
And it's always up to date. That's the important part of the whole resume, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But you also want to add your educational experience. When you're a freshman, you'll probably have like your high school experience as well, and your whatever graduate or whatever college you're like going into and what you're studying right now. You're gonna have like that information. Probably once you're a junior and a senior, you're not gonna have your high school education on there because it's pretty much already known that you got your diploma somewhere because you're at a university. So just make sure that you kind of keep track of that.
And companies are a lot more interested in what did you do in college, like, you know, once you're, you know, 2-3 years in, than what did you do in high school. So we have a quick question.
Yes.
Is there somewhere I can go to see a sample resume?
Yes. UTSA has, the Career Center has a website, and they have sample resumes for all the different colleges. So in a little bit, you'll see our resumes, and we're from
sample resumes.
Yeah, we're in 2 different colleges, so our resumes look a little bit different. But yeah, the Career Center, we'll probably put like in the description below, or in the chat, like the link to that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, we've prepared a bad example resume, and we brought our resumes here to kind of showcase and give you an example of what, you know, the difference between a bad resume and a good resume is. So here we have our bad resume. So Joe Bob right here, he is, I guess, applying for a job. And right off the bat, right here on the right side, we're going to have the do's and don'ts. But we're going to talk through our resumes and kind of like tell you what we like about the resumes and what doesn't work for the resumes. So first off is this email address, coolcrazybro100. We kind of want to keep the resume professional, so you should keep your email as such. Probably use your name, maybe a number that's significant to you, or just a random number works too. But try to stay away from the, you know, funky monkeys or cool crazy bro.
Yeah, make sure you have your name or your initials in there.
Yes.
Because, and you know, if you're doing like a kind of creative or like an art sort of thing, you'll have like, maybe if you're a writer or you do photography, like you'll have that in there. But just make sure it's like identifying to you, because anybody can be a cool crazy bro.
Exactly. And then on top of that, if you do have a photo on there, make sure it's like a professional photo, not like you chugging down a beer or something.
Yeah.
Because these do pop up when they type in an email. The next thing is, maybe don't put your Twitter on there, because again, like, anything you put on your resume, they're going to be able to access it. So I would recommend, you know, your LinkedIn, definitely, that's a professional, you know, social media type. Your email, if you have a website, you know, I know Alexis has a website for her writing pieces, and as a writer, she's going to want to showcase that. I have a website because I'm a programmer, and I want to showcase that I can, like, you know, program stuff like a website. So definitely all of these things, but remember, anything that you put on your resume, a company can see. So if you put your Instagram and you have it on there as public, and then you have, you know, what you do on the weekends, maybe that's not something you want to showcase to a future company. A great tip that we got from one of our peer mentors before the live stream is, if you don't want to change your privacy settings on your Instagram, maybe change your last name or something like that, because even if you don't put it on your resume, companies will go on Instagram and type in your name and look for you. So maybe change your handle to something that doesn't include your name, or change your actual physical name to like maybe a different first name or whatnot.
A nickname or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. I have all of my accounts on private just because I want to know who's looking at my accounts, but also be mindful of what you post. Anything you post on the internet these days, they say, like, it's there forever.
Yeah.
So be very mindful, because I know a lot of people who've lost opportunities because of things that they've posted.
Right. Just be careful.
Now, something that is very important is you want to keep the theme and the pattern throughout your resume kind of like the same. So if you're using a font, use that font throughout. Definitely do not use
it looks
chiller.
like you put this together in like 20 minutes.
I did, actually. If you're going to use a font, try to use Times New Roman. German is a good one, but professional looking fonts.
Yeah.
And then try to steer away from like that 9-point font. You want it to be legible.
You want people to not have to like look really close to try and see it, right? And I mean, especially with fonts like this, or even if you use like a cursive font, which would be like a fancy font, like sometimes it's hard to read that stuff. So you just want to be mindful of that and just make sure it's all like, because I'm looking at this right now, and there's like different fonts, there's different sizes, like some are bold, some are in color. It's a lot.
It definitely is, but that's why I made it so. Another thing is, as you can see, like their job experience is like one's on the left, one's on the right. You want to keep them all in the same type of, pattern, because people love to look at patterns, and if they can identify a pattern, they can find out, that information a lot quicker, and you don't want it to be difficult for them to find the information. Mm-hmm. Another thing is go in chronological order. Put the present usually at the top, and then go from the present to the past in chronological order. You don't want it to skip around. And then, take the opportunity underneath to give bullet points of what you did in that job, but don't make it a paragraph. So don't be too vague, but also don't, add too much detail.
Right.
Another important thing that I was told is your GPA, if it's below like a 3, I know for engineers, if it's below like a 2.8, it's recommended not to put the GPA on there. Mm-hmm. Definitely showcase your GPA if you're doing great.
Right.
But
if
other than that,
4.0, you can put it up there.
Go for it. But other than that, you want this to reflect the best parts of you. Mm-hmm. And sometimes if you put your GPA on there, companies won't look at anything else. So you want them to get to know you as more than just a GPA.
Right. You're much more than just like a number. So just keep that in mind.
Definitely. Under skills, definitely try to put skills that are relevant to the job.
Yes.
So yeah, you may be the number one, video gamer out there. But if you're applying for, if you're applying for a job where you have to test quality of video games, maybe put that on there. But if you're on there, looking for a job in accounting, I don't know how that can relate.
Yeah. But and also just on that, keep in mind that you might have to change your resume just a little bit for everyone that you give it to. Yeah. Especially if you're submitting it to if you're online or you're submitting it to specific companies, look it over and make it specific for that company. And say okay, this company is about, like you said, video games. So I have programming skills, or if you have certain things, it's not going to be the same as if you're applying for
accounting job.
Right, exactly.
Keep
it in mind.
One of the things that we have on our dues is make keywords relevant to the position or field. If you're applying online nowadays, companies won't, it's not even a real person that's looking at your resume. It's a computer that's scanning for keywords. And usually those keywords are in the job description. So when you're talking about skills, when you're doing your objectives, put those keywords in there. Make it flow. So if they're looking for somebody who is proficient in Word, maybe put, I'm proficient in Word. Because that'll help your resume stand out, and it gets to the point of I am good for this job. If you don't have anything to put, don't put that category on there.
Right.
So for activities, this person said nothing really, just studying. Don't do that. You want to highlight the really good parts of you. Mm-hmm. And then, really important part.
I love these references.
References. Your ex, if they're your ex, they maybe don't have the best things to say about you. So first off, don't put someone on there that's not going to give you a good recommendation.
Yeah, and normally you don't put your friends or
family,
just people you're in class with. Yeah, or family. Don't people that have a personal connection with you. negative or positive. You don't really want to put them on there.
And then when you do put a professor, make sure that you've talked to that professor and given them a heads up. The worst thing is when a company calls and is like, hey, how's Alexis Jackson doing? And you're like, who?
Yeah.
What? Oh, yeah, I vaguely remember this person in my class.
From like 3 semesters ago.
You want to just pop in and be like, hey, can I put you down again? Ask for their permission.
Yeah. Send them an email even, just like, hi, you might not remember me, but I took your class in this and this. It really helped me out. I would like to talk to you about this, or, you know, I'd like to use this as my relevant coursework, so I was wondering maybe you could, like, look over it again. I've done that. I've sent things that I've written before and sent it again to a professor and, like, asked them to, like, look over it and see what they think about it. So.
And what I usually do is when I ask for a professor's recommendation, I send them my resume too, so they know that, like, what to talk about for me. And then references aren't typically on a resume. What I do is at the bottom I put, like, references upon request, but that's what recommendation letters are for.
Right.
So references don't usually, like, more and more recently, don't go on resumes. So now that you saw a bad example, let's go to Alexis's wonderful resume.
Wow. I will say, like, that I have not updated this, like, thoroughly. One, because I've been working on my CV since I am applying to grad schools. Basically, a CV is like it's like a resume, but more towards academics and also towards like your, not necessarily like your jobs or whatever you want to do, but more like what you want to study, what you want to teach, and like tell other people. So like you'll see, like, your professors will have their CVs, and their CVs will be really long. Mine's very short right now, but you know, some CVs are long depending on presentations you've given, you know, academically, panels you've been in, if you've published anything. You know, it's a lot more in depth than a resume. But let's just dive right into my resume here. This is with the template from the Career Center for the Liberal Arts College.
And like we said earlier, you'll see how mine differs, and we'll talk about it at the end about, you know, the differences between the resumes. But you'll definitely see a huge difference between my resume and Alexis's resume, again, because we're part of different colleges. Not only that, but everybody's going to have a different opinion of what's important on a resume. So really go with what feels best for you. And don't be afraid just because, like, it doesn't fit exactly how ours are, that it's a wrong resume.
Right, exactly. Don't worry about that. So let me just go through quickly. The summary of qualifications is it's basically what you're going to be talking about for your whole resume, but it's sort of like a quick something to get the people that are looking at it, or whoever's looking at it, to see, like, okay, they have some of these skills that we might need. They have leadership experience. They can actually work in a team, or things like that. And then we have education. And so my education, I don't have my high school in there anymore. I have the UTSA and my degree, as well as my graduation date, which will soon just be
graduated.
Which
is really important, especially if you're applying for, like, an internship. A lot of internships look to convert these interns to full-time employees within a year, so that gives them the idea, oh, she's going to be graduating, you know, the end of this upcoming semester.
Right. So then, like, oh, we could hire her here, and then she can start working, like, immediately, which is great. And I also have here, since I'm not finished with my degree yet, it's really important to put the relevant coursework.
I like that.
You can keep it on there even if even after you graduate. So these are all the classes that I've taken. Not all the classes I've taken, but, like, all the important classes that I think are really important too, like the writing that I want to do, as well as the filmmaking. So I have, you know, digital video production, which is really important if you want to do anything in filmmaking. They want to know that you have some kind of experience. And I've studied filmmakers. I've studied, you know, leadership and humanities. And I also have a writing, you know, course experience. So that's really important. People want to see, like, what have you been doing since you've been studying? And also notice I don't have my GPA up here. And not that it's terrible, but still, like, it's not up here, but because it's really not the numbers that they're going to be worried with. It's what you've been doing since you've been here.
No, yeah, and that's another thing is just because, even if you have like a 3.0 or higher, you don't have to put it on there. If you feel like, you know what, I don't want them to know my GPA, I want them to know me as a person who has done this work and has this experience, feel free not to put it on there.
Exactly.
It's really up to you. But again, if it's lower than a 3.0, we strongly recommend not to put it on there.
And then we're going down to work experience. And so probably pretty soon I'll be taking the second one off, because when I was in like my senior year of high school and like my freshman year of college, and so it's becoming less and less like relevant to what I'm doing. And I actually have something to add because I did work as a production assistant over the summer.
So cool.
Thank you. And so that would definitely be something I want to put in there, as well as, you know, who I worked with, what the sort of project that I worked on was. So let's look at the mentor experience. So I'm a first-to-go-and graduate mentor. I've been one since September 2016, and I'm still one now. And so kind of I really want to talk about the experience because they're very short, not even sentences. It's just like things that I did, and it's all like verbs. Like I could put like I mentored and I advised students, but they really want to know like what you're doing now. And I could even change this now because since I'm doing Mentor Mondays, that would be great experience in like hosting and talking, public speaking and stuff like that. So for activities and honors, so I've got a few organizations that I'm in or that I was in. And if you're in organizations and you have a leadership position, like down here it says I was a PR officer, and then right here, this is actually from my high school. The very bottom one is from high school, because I was the president of it. FCCLA is the Future Career and Community Leaders of America, I believe. And, you know, I'm very proud of that, but I'll probably be taking it off pretty soon since it's from high school. It's a little, and they kind of say that you should take stuff off like after a certain amount of time that it's been since you've been in it or gotten it. So definitely still updating, and that's the thing, like you are going to be updating your resume all the time.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Like you cannot like just like wait like look at it and then just turn it in, like the one that you made like in 2016. It's just not going to work out. And then additional skills, these are kind of like my qualities in the beginning, but you know, they're really short, just words. Like, you know, she said that they're going to be looking for specific words, so they want to know like, and I have the experience to back it up, to back up all of those things that I'm talking about in my additional skills.
Yeah, she's just reinforcing like I do have these skills, and if you need proof, look above.
Right, and look at all of these things that and like mine is kind of small right now, but you know, as you start working, it's going to be longer, and you're going to have to kind of decide what you want to leave in and what you want to take out, because it should be one page. Mostly one page, because I know Diana's is coming up. But so this is kind of just my resume, and yeah,
and just a real quick note, as you can tell, Alexis, what we were talking about earlier, she keeps everything chronological. So here, this is the most recent like spectrum at UTSA. She joined it this fall, and she's still in it. First gen organization, joined it in 2016, so it comes right under because she's still in it. But here, SSA, UTSA, she was in it from spring 17 to 18. Even though this time period is still like more recent than this one, because the top one is present, it stays on top.
Right.
All of the things that are ongoing stay on top. So that's a really good thing to point out, that it's in chronological order to know.
And it's
like
the same thing with the experience as well. It's going to be, you know, at the top right here. This is the present, and well, my graduation. If I do go to graduate school, then that's going to be at the top because it's ongoing. So
definitely. So like her grad school would be first, and then next would be her bachelor's.
Right.
And once she gets, and that's another thing, is once she gets her master's or, you know, PhD, that one's going to be the primary one Some people include it in their CV, but on a resume, again, when you want to keep it kind of concise, some people will leave out their bachelor's because it's assumed like you already have your bachelor's.
If you have your master's, then you have your bachelor's. The same way, if you have your bachelor's, you probably have your diploma.
The only thing I would say is, like, for example, I'm going to grad school for biomedical engineering, but I have my bachelor's in computer and electrical. So if I'm applying to something, and again, this is tailoring your resume, if I'm applying to something that's heavily in the programming aspect, I want to leave my bachelor's on there to represent that I do have that computer aspect.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Wonderful resume. I love it.
Thank you.
It's so nice and
it needs to be updated, but we'll see. We'll see how it looks.
So then we'll go to mine. Mine's a little bit more chunky, but mostly because I don't have a CV. This is my large resume. And again, you're tailoring each of your resumes to the job that you're applying to. So what I would recommend is have this large ongoing resume with everything you've done. And then have, when you're applying for a job, take out the things that you want to, highlight and put them in that resume that you're going to send off. So maybe don't send your large resume, but send, parts of it, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So what we start off with, of course, you want your name, title at the top so they know whose resume this is. Contact information, got my website, my LinkedIn, and then here's your education. So include all of the majors and minors that you're pursuing, because that's really important. Alexis has double major as well, and she included it, classical studies and humanities. That's double major, right?
No, that's just the name of the degree.
Oh, I thought it was two. Sorry.
No, it's just one degree. But thank you for thinking so highly of me.
I just think you're pursuing everything. So definitely include, because that's hard work that you're working on, and showcase that.
Right. Exactly.
It's not easy to pursue multiple things. So go for it. I want to include my resume or my GPA because I'm really proud of it. So
that's
I
a
put
really
it on.
good GPA.
And definitely, especially if you're in one of those more difficult classes, programs where engineering, the average GPA is about a 2.7, 2.8. So it's lower than all the other GPA average GPA. So you want to showcase it if you have a really good GPA.
You got this template from the Career Center as well?
Yeah, my freshman or sophomore year, one of those two, I went to the Career Center and I showed them just this list of what I'd done.
Yeah.
I was like, help. So they
I did the same thing. I was like, I don't know
sticky
what
notes.
This is.
So yeah, this is definitely the template for engineering based stuff. And just a real quick thing, mine is 2 pages. But it's 2 pages of stuff that I've done in college. Mm-hmm. The only thing I have on here is this EDGE program and this mentorship program that were from high school, but they're because they're focused in engineering. And so it shows that it's something I've been interested since high school and I've been pursuing it. So again, tailor it to the experience and to what you want to showcase. So on my first page, because mine is 2 pages, I put what I want them to know, notice and, really see on that first page. The second page, sometimes they'll glance at it, sometimes they won't even see it or look at it. So don't put important information on there.
Yes.
Maybe don't put your GPA on the second page if it's good, or, your relevant experience. So for me, I put my work experience, my internships here, because they have already passed. They're going to be below my present work experience. So I'm a peer mentor here, and I'm a teaching assistant for the College of Engineering. Mine are a little bit more lengthy, my descriptions, just so that I can go into a little bit more detail of what I do. An advice I was given is try to quantify your, information. If you can say I teach or I hold tutoring sessions for 50 plus students, it speaks a lot more than I hold tutoring sessions.
Right.
Because then you're giving a number. Or I do, I'm a peer mentor for 60 plus mentees, mm-hmm. rather than just I'm a peer mentor type of thing.
Yeah.
Keep your verbs in the same tense. So if it's something that you did in the past, keep all of the verbs in the past tense. If it's something that you're doing right now, keep it in the present tense. Then my relevant experience is experience that I didn't have in a job, but I did on my own time. So whether that was volunteering or just kind of free time and I decided to do this. So that's all my research experience and my mentorship with the robotics team. And then on the back page, these are things that I'm part of and I'm proud of, but they're not necessarily things that are gonna, make or break whether I get this job. So that's organizations, all of those like honor societies and different societies I'm a part of, and student organizations. Then, awards and recognitions, my scholarships on there. Anytime you get like on the dean's list or what is the other one, president's list, definitely list those, because that means that semester you got a really good GPA, you got like A's and B's only and stuff like that. And then my last thing is a summary of skills. And again, this is for, when I'm applying online and I want to have those keywords. But really, to me, my skills are already showcased in my work experience and relevant experience, so I put it at the back. And then lastly, references available upon request, because I don't want to include it in my resume. If they want a reference, I'll give them like a letter of reference, or I'll, give a shout out to someone. But like we said, as you can see, my work experience is the most important part, because as an engineer, you want to show the case that you've actually applied what you've learned in the classroom. For Alexis, for the liberal arts classes, it's more of like summary of qualifications and education, and showing that you do have that knowledge behind what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Anything else you want to add on?
No, I think you touched on everything. I think the one thing with the formatting that you've probably noticed is that we use like bullet points and don't use like full sentences very much.
Yeah.
Just because, like I said, it's very short. People are not trying to like read your life story. If they do, they'll ask you for a statement of purpose.
Exactly. And some places will ask you for like a cover letter. Mm-hmm. And so that is more of like, what's your intent for this when you're applying to this job and whatnot. Oh no. There we go. So definitely, and that's going to be based off of the different jobs that you're applying to, and they'll tell you if they want a cover letter or not. Mm-hmm. So
keep that in mind.
Now that you saw some good resumes, places that you can go on campus to get help with your resume, or to get help with job hunting. So the Career Center is the number one place.
Yes, definitely. I would say the best resource on campus is the Career Center.
Yes.
If you want it for like when you're going after college, because there's a lot of good resources while you're here, mm-hmm. but this one is really good because it's preparing you for the future.
And they're really good at like giving you like on-campus jobs if you're looking for something like that. Mm-hmm. They have a huge database, and they have career counselors for all of the different colleges. So I'm sure that, I know there's one career counselor for engineering majors. I'm sure there's one.
I think there's two for the liberal arts majors, but which is really important because they're going to be telling us different things.
Exactly.
You saw, our resumes are very different. It's important to have someone who knows, okay, this is what you need to do because you're going to get a job sort of in this area.
Yeah.
And in this area, it's important to have a difference to know, because everybody's different, and yeah, you can't just go to one person for everything.
Exactly. And I'm sure that my career counselor would be like, oh, you need your technical skills, but then
yeah, it's not going
for
to
liberal arts, it's going to be like, no, you need more of those soft. Well, you do need soft skills everywhere, but you need to read more.
Yeah, because if I'm humanities and say I want to go to HR or something like that, it's going to be different than someone who wants to go to biomedical engineering. It's going to be different. They're both important, but very different.
And the Career Center is also really great if you're looking for graduate studies.
Yes.
They definitely know how to prepare you for that. And again, it's going to be a different type of advice than if you're going into the job market. I know that for engineers going into the job market, you need those technical skills. But for going into grad school, you need to have that academia behind you. Mm-hmm. So they have UTSA Handshake, which is the platform for finding any form of, company that's looking to hire students or interns from UTSA. Handshake is also where they have on-campus jobs and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely join Handshake and update your profile on there because you can apply through them to companies. And I know that a lot of local companies love to hire from UTSA.
A lot of them are also alumni,
Yes.
and so they love like hiring other Roadrunners, which is nice.
Go to the job fairs. I know that the company that I had an internship with this summer, they put you in front of everybody who applies online if you go and show face at at a job fair. That being said, dress appropriately. Don't go there in slacks and stuff.
Right.
Or, well, not slacks.
Sweatpants or anything like that. Like, don't go into class. You can kind of wear whatever, but if you're going to like a professional thing, they want to know that you can like dress up.
And we got a couple questions. First off, what is job hunting? That's a good question.
Yeah. So basically, job hunting is kind of when you're searching for jobs that are like in your, desired like skill set, like something that you can do or something that you want to do in the future. So basically, it's not just like looking for a part-time job or, looking for something just while you're in school or something. It's more like what you want a career to be. Is what I see as job hunting.
Yeah.
Is really searching.
It's going to like different companies, not just finding, a help wanted sign, but going and seeing like what specific careers could you have in a company and whatnot. What should you look for in a job? That's a good question.
That's a good question. And with that, it also varies. It depends on what you want to do. If you want to do more like freelance work, if you're writing, if you're a creative, then you're probably not going to look for something that has like a lot of contracts, a lot of like, like ties you in a lot. Maybe you want to just do something that allows you a lot of freedom or, kind of allows you to work on your own projects rather than just like dishing out whatever they want you to do.
So like another thing that I know, when you're looking for a job, a lot of people, they don't just look for like what skills are necessary. Sometimes they look for like also benefits.
That's important. Yes.
I know that like one of my friends, to her, family is really important. So she knows that in the future she's going to want to have a family. So when she's looking for a career or a job, she's not just looking for like where can I apply my skills, but also what companies are going to help me, foster that, family-centered relationship. What companies are going to give me that maternal leave or whatnot.
Right.
Or other companies, like some people are looking to make more money, so they're looking for jobs that will pay for overtime or encourage overtime, and stuff like that. So it's not just looking for those skills, but also looking for a job that fits well with you and what you want out of life.
Yeah, and if you want to like move around, maybe you don't want to stay in one place for the rest of your life, look for a job that offers that, maybe they have different branches that you can go to, or that maybe you can kind of rise up like in the level, like you're not stuck at one level. There's like opportunity to go up higher.
Some companies are really like known for like hiring from outside. Others are hiring from within, meaning that they'll promote you. If that's something you're looking for, like climbing a ladder, then look for a company that's promoting from within. If you're just looking for a job that's going to make ends meet until 5 years down the road, then maybe you're not so interested in like that whole like climbing the corporate ladder and whatnot.
Right. But you could be interested in overtime, so you can save up for something,
Or one of the huge benefits of the job that I applied to and thankfully got was paying for grad school, because grad school is definitely something I want to do. And so they have a great education program that, as a full-time employee, you can get the benefit of going to and completing your master's and PhD and whatnot. And to me, that meant a lot.
Yeah.
So that was something I looked for. How do you research a job?
There are a lot of job websites now that you can like Indeed, I think, is one of them, where you can just kind of put in like what you want, like maybe the title of a job or like kind of the skills needed for a job or something like that, and then you can find it like that. Or you can search at career fairs, or you can kind of maybe through like word of mouth, if you're working like with professors and stuff that are in that like area.
Professors are really great.
Yeah, then you can find one. Example, my professor is actually the one who helped me get the sort of production assistant job that I had to get more experience.
Nice.
So yeah, I would have never been able to actually work on a movie set if I hadn't have made that connection with that professor already.
And then Handshake is a great database of all the different jobs available. So what I would like recommend is go on Handshake, find those jobs, and then go on their websites and look at like what does that job entitle and stuff like that. I know that for government jobs, there's a whole database out there if you're like looking for like the public sector. And then we have, does my job have to be within my field? Ooh, I say not necessarily. It's all about how you market yourself. I know mechanical engineers who turn programmers, and mechanical engineering doesn't necessarily have a lot of programming classes. I would say it should be where your passion is, because if you're passionate about it, you can sell yourself anywhere.
Yes, definitely. And it's also all about like transferable skills. Like with humanities, it's a really broad sort of thing. So you can not necessarily be in a humanities field, but you still need humanities skills to help you sort of navigate.
But obviously you're going to college for a field or like a major that you're passionate about already. So more than likely you're going to look for a job that's within your career field, or your major field. And it's usually a lot easier. I mean, it's going to be hard for me as an engineer to go out and like ask to be like a movie producer, because I don't have those classes, I don't have those skill sets. And so you're going to probably be looking for a job that's in your field, just because it's a lot easier to market yourself from that.
But I will say that sometimes when you start working, you might think like, oh, this actually isn't what I want to do, I want to do something else, and you might be able to transfer that over. Or maybe you find a job that's not necessarily within your field, but you still enjoy it, and then later you find another job that is in your field, but you also have the extra experience. You shouldn't like feel like that you're stuck in your field. But I definitely think that you should work kind of from there on, and also think that you're not just gonna have one job your whole life. Once you get here, you're gonna move around, and it's okay to do that. Like, don't feel like you have to find your number one career right out of college, because it's really, usually it's not gonna work like that.
And it's perfectly fine to be like, 5 years into a job and be like, I hate this. And then realize you're passionate about something else.
Exactly.
And pursue that.
That's definitely, I would say, don't be afraid to like quit your job basically and like go to another one, and don't feel like it's the end of the world if you don't like your job, because it's hard, but you can move on from that.
Or another thing I would highly, highly recommend to avoid all of that stress, try internships. That is a perfect way to figure out if it's something you're going to be passionate about. For example, I had an internship 2 summers ago at a company that I love. I still love it. But I realized that because of the company, it was hard to find funding for different projects. It wasn't something that necessarily I wanted to be a part of. I wanted to be in a company that, had constant funding, had constant all this stuff. I didn't have to look for funding. So for me, I realized, that wasn't a company I wanted to work for. So it was a lot greater. It was a really great experience for me because, it was 10 weeks rather than, graduating college, going into the workforce and realizing I hate this and now I have to look for another job and all of that stuff.
Right.
So definitely try internships, so that you can see, is this something that I really like? I mean, I'm sure that was what you did this summer, and you saw that it was...
Yeah, I saw that it was definitely something that I really liked. So I'm really glad that I got that opportunity, because who knows when you're actually going to be able to go on a movie set, because it's not like you can just be like, you can just walk in and like, hey, let me help out. Like, it's a little harder than that. And I also made a lot of connections with other filmmakers there, so, which is really important. Like, it's always about like,
Our next question is, can connections or friends help you get a job?
Yes.
Definitely.
Very much. Just like I said with the professors, having like a connection with them really helped me get a job, and do something I really, really love to do, because, you can say you love something over and over again, but once you actually have experience in it, it really changes the game, changes how you see it, and changes how you kind of, run yourself, or, get around.
Or like another thing is, let's say, Alexis and I work in the same company, and I'm hiring somebody new, and I get a letter of reference from, Jonathan. I don't know who Jonathan is. I don't know, like, his type of, is he going to just write a letter of recommendation for anyone? But if I get a recommendation from Alexis, who I've been working for, let's say, working with for 5 years, I know the type of person she is. I know she's hardworking. I know she wouldn't put her name next to somebody, just for anything. I know she would, if she believes in a person and she gives me a recommendation, I can trust that recommendation. So having connections, definitely speaks volumes, especially if it's within the company you're trying to get into. Because it speaks a lot more than, a letter of recommendation from somebody outside of the company or somebody nobody's heard of.
Right. And those connections don't have to necessarily be in your field specifically. Especially if you're applying to like a company, like there's a lot of different branches within companies, I think.
I don't know. Yes.
And so there's different sort of departments that you can be in. So maybe you know somebody from like the management department, but you're in like the creative department. Like you're not necessarily going to be looking for the same things, but it's still good to know somebody in that company within that field. And that's another thing with like networking and getting involved. You can really like get really it can be really helpful, like if you do get involved in things like that in the future, because you never know who's going to be like in the same org that you were in, or like if you're in a fraternity or something. Like I know they do networking, I think.
And definitely if you get like an invitation to like a national honor society or something, take that opportunity, because that's a huge it's a huge thing on you. Like that's
right.
Amazing that you got in, but it's also a huge like connector. I know like a couple some summers ago I gave my resume to somebody and they're like, oh, you're in this National Honor Society? I'm in it too. I was at it like MIT or something, and I was a part of the society, and they only let in so many people or whatnot. And instant, there's a connection, there's a starting point, there's a part you can start talking to them.
And that's really helpful if you're going like not in your local sort of ecosystem. If you're going out, like maybe out of the state or even out of like your city, like it's going to be really helpful to have connections that are sort of broader than just like who you knew from like one of your classes.
And speaking of which, this brings us to our last question. How do professor recommendations help with job hunting?
I think personally it really depends on the job that you're doing, because if all your professors are in a certain field or in a certain class, like it's really not going to help if you're in like a different sort of thing.
And I think it also depends on how well you know the professor.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I could get a recommendation from a professor I had, one semester my freshman year. And then the difference between like having a professor who A, I'm a teaching assistant for, B, I've had for like 3 years now as a professor. Like all of these things, when he's writing his letter of recommendation, he can talk about all of that. He can be like, not only does she excel, in the class, but she also goes above and beyond by teaching students and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely I guess, it depends on whether it's in your field, how well you know the professor, but you're always going to need letters of recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's coming from a professor, somebody, your supervisor, those look a lot better than, some random person that you worked with on a project once.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely, because professors have that, credit to themselves already. They have a PhD. So, so they know that they're serious about whatever it is that they're talking about. They don't mess around. So it's important to have that. Yeah, it's the prestige. Exactly. I like that.
So definitely, if you have more questions, we're all over social media. We have a website. All of that is in the description below. Send us your questions. We'll be monitoring them, especially this week since the career fair is coming up. But we highly recommend, go see a career counselor before the career fair.
No. Also, if you have questions and maybe you just want to talk to a mentor that we do have the First Gen Transfer Student Center in the Flan building. So you can come here, and there's always plenty of mentors. I'm here Mondays and Wednesdays. So we're just here for you.
Exactly. So definitely. There's a lot of opportunities and stuff like that. Talk to your professors. Ask them, be like, hey, I'm kind of nervous about career fair. What are some recommendations you have, or something like that. But yeah, if you have more questions, definitely put them in the comments below. What's the best tip you got for career hunting? And so let us know. Aside from that, here's some stuff that's coming up in the next week.
I can't see.
No worries.
Okay. So, actually, next week, I think the 18th, on a Tuesday, is going to be the First Gun Graduate organization meeting. So it's a organization for first generation university students. It's actually kind of connected to the First Gen program. and they're meeting here in this room, Flan 30204 at 5 p.m. and that's on
on
on Tuesday.
That's the same day as the career fair, but the career fair I think is from like 8 to 3 or 4, something like that. And then we have workshops for international students. So we got time management and study skills Thursday from the 13th from 12 to 1.
That's this Thursday.
Yes. Oh yeah. September 13th. Then we have effective exam prep Thursday, October 11th from 12 to 1.
And we'll update with like the room number
Yes.
that as well. And then we have the marketable leadership skills workshops. There's actually a few going on in this week. The theme is teamwork, and that's Thursday. That's also Thursday the 13th, Friday or 5:30 in the Hidalgo room. I think that's in the that's in the student union, the HEB student union.
Yes.
And then problem solving is Wednesday, the 19th.
So next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday at 5:30 as well. And then on the Thursday, the 20th, it's at 4 p.m. and that's decision making.
And they're all in the Hidalgo.
All in the Hidalgo room. You can look at the student union like map and you can see it. It's pretty easy to find.
And then Ritama movie night every Fridays at 6 and at 9 p.m. and then Saturdays at 7 p.m. So this Friday and Saturday they're going to show Incredibles 2. I love that.
Very good movie.
Oh,
love it. I'm probably going to go see it again.
And it's free to all students. And I think you can even, like, if you're like a student and have like a kid, you can. I brought my sister once, so you can bring like a kid. They don't necessarily have to have student ID.
Cool.
And then Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom will be September 21st and 22nd.
Also a very good movie.
And they usually have popcorn, so go out there and just have a good time.
Have a good time, bring some friends.
You know.
It'll be fun.
As always, thank you so much for watching. Like the video, remember to subscribe to our channel.
And look out for our mentor messages. Next week we'll have a video on goal setting. So
at 4 o'clock,
check that out.
We'll be posting it.
Yeah, and always ask questions because then we can answer that in the mentor messages, or we can answer it in the next Mentor Monday stream. Just keep updated with us, and
follow all of our social media. That's the best way to get involved and get to know what we're up to. Aside from that, I'm Diana.
I'm Alexis.
Thank you again so much for watching.